maybe I'll ask Chikumbuso, how has your social life been affected by the pandemic?
Well, to begin, when the pandemic actually like spread in Zambia and was actually becoming a serious thing, many people didn't really know how to take it. So like the government would like all put on a mask and sanitize and stuff like that. But then the people were like, no, I don't want to do that. And that way we still had gatherings. So I wasn't that disturbed. I would like go out and like have fun with my friends until like when I was going to Thailand to start my IB journey in grade 11, where like I had to go through quarantine, which was extremely tough. The first week is like, oh, I'm an introvert and like I can do this. This is a comfort zone. But then like heading towards the next few weeks, I felt like demotivated and like broken down, and just all these really hard emotions were like put on me until like I started getting involved in like skipping in the room and like making collages and stuff like that. So I'd like say during this whole COVID situation, I definitely had my high moments and my low moments. I had fun at the same time. I was very sad.
And maybe if someone else could relate to that experience, maybe Rita, I don't think we've heard from you yet. How has your social life been impacted by the pandemic? Do you have a similar experience?
Yeah, it totally changed. Like when you're going to school, it was you had to see everyone. You could see everyone. You could talk to your friends, even your teachers. But after the pandemic, it's like you can't get close to anyone, and no one's really going visiting each other because they're scared to catch the virus.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point of view, yes, I didn't really talk to my friends that much because mostly because of online school, it needed a lot of concentration, especially that you can get distracted very easily. So I was really focusing on my studies. And yeah, when I was at school, we used to do a lot of sports. So I got really bummed when it was just all online because they canceled all of those. But the good part about that is that I managed to find a group of friends who played volleyball. So we would get together a few times a week, of course, being careful and all that, and have a few games, play a few games, which was very stress relieving. It was very nice. But all in all, it wasn't that bad. Like, I always found stuff to cope, ways to cope. We started puzzles, we explored interests, started putting together puzzles and other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in all, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear. It's good to hear that you found some kind of positive out of it. Maybe Akani, I don't know, because you mentioned earlier, you and Blessing, that you guys are also really into sports. I wonder if maybe in a similar way to Rita, you guys managed to find a way to make those kind of connections despite your sports being cancelled by the school.
Okay, so the sport was cancelled. I took it in gracefully. So, but then it had been a long time since netball is basically a contact sport, so it wasn't allowed anymore. But then I had to find other things like exercising in the house and trying to find motivation and regarding this my social life during the pandemic. My friends and I always found ways like to connect with each other. Like we'd be on calls, do something, and like the whole lockdown became better because of the things that I did. So it was much better.
Okay, one is like at first, it's like Akani said, exercising indoors. Because I remember I tried that's how we started off, exercise indoors. But like if I'm being honest, exercising alone is not as fun as exercising with a group of friends. And at first we tried the video calls and then get together on a group video call, try and exercise together, but it doesn't really feel the same. But then as time went on, the restrictions got lifted gradually. So instead of still focusing on basketball, I focused more on the non-contact sports, like for instance athletics, the long jump, the triple jump, the ones that don't involve contact. And I feel like that's how I've been able to enjoy like the whole non-contact sport, because like I'm still doing things that keep me fit, so it's not too bad if you do non-contact sports.
It's a nice alternative at the very least, even if it isn't, your main passion. At least it's something. And I think we already had some mentions about calling, etc. I wanted to ask kind of how your relationship with social media has changed as a result of the pandemic. Maybe I'll ask Elliot. I'm not sure how much you use social media to keep in touch with friends and interact with people.
Yeah, I've always been a huge user of social media to keep in contact with people, because I usually meet people at events, just, obviously before COVID. But a lot of these people wouldn't really live near me. They would travel for the events. So obviously I'm using social media to keep in contact with them. And I did video call with friends a lot over the pandemic, and we used, watch parties to watch movies and shows together. But now, not that we're coming to the end, because we're not coming to the end of the pandemic, but so far in now, I actually don't really like social media as much as I used to. I don't like posting photos anymore. I don't like seeing other people's photos. Calling isn't as fun. I don't really watch videos of people anymore. I think we've just all been inside for so long that the internet has become, in my opinion, a really negative place now, more so than it was before. And it's really difficult to go online now without seeing something horrible. And since we're all in our homes, it's not like I can go out and play sports or something to distract myself from it like I could have before the pandemic. It's just, I'm here, I'm in my room, I'm by myself. I have to keep myself distracted if I come across something negative. So my relationship with social media has gotten so much worse, and I only now use very specific apps just for messaging. I don't really use Instagram. I don't really use Twitter. I don't use anything that has like photos or videos on it. It's just like messaging apps, really.
And have you considered closing down those accounts you mentioned?
I haven't, simply because I have a lot of friends who do use these apps, and these are the only ways that I can contact them if I ever really want to contact them, which, I do, they're my friends. But my usage of these apps has declined so much. I addicted to my phone before the pandemic happened. I was addicted to just being in contact with people, but now I have very select people that I talk to. But the only reason I won't shut down these accounts is because I don't want to lose contact with these friends who use them.
Yeah, and it's kind of necessary as well, right? I mean, otherwise, like you said, you would have really no way to talk to them.
Yeah.
I wonder if anyone else has also had a similar experience. Maybe Malin, how has your relationship with social media been impacted by the pandemic?
Yeah, even before the pandemic, I always used to make a lot of friends just online. So I always used social media to like contact them and talk to them. And I feel like that got even worse in the pandemic, because you don't really get to see your friends in real life. So you just talk to them more on social media than you did before. So I started using it a lot more, but I started like using apps like Twitter less, because it got so toxic over the pandemic and everyone's just being so rude on there. So I try to stay away from these apps, just to like only talk to friends and not use like the apps that are really toxic and people are just being rude on there.
So yeah, I would say a fairly similar experience to Elliot. We've talked a lot about how you guys are using social media as a means to speak to friends rather than, perhaps keep up with events. But maybe I'll ask Reham, how sufficient do you think social media is in kind of replacing or rather emulating person-to-person contact?
I feel like apps like TikTok and Instagram, they're not really, I don't think they're really good to base like someone's life on, because I noticed on Instagram that before it used to be like a place where you post like casual photos and everything, but now it's become like kind of a competition. Like you just have to post one of your best photos or something, and it's become like, even if you're not an influencer, even if you're just like someone on there, there's like a standard, and I don't really like that. I feel like it's toxic. And I found like during the pandemic that I actually started to use like Instagram, TikTok more, because before the pandemic, I never used to use it that much. I used to just talk to my friends at school, or or I'd go out with them, but I just find myself using it more. No, I actually prefer to talk to them in person because I like to see their faces, like instead of just texting or phoning them, because it just doesn't feel the same. Because when you're phoning someone, sometimes you can be distracted or something. But when you meet them in person, you know, you have their full attention.